Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, and today, joining me via Zoom, he is the creator of the Audible original podcast, Sonarius, The Mysteries of M, Mr. Peter Mattei. Welcome, Peter.
Hey everybody, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me as part of your junket. I want to definitely want to talk to you about the series, but first I want to talk to you a bit about you. So, can you give me some of your background and kind of how you got into show business and everything? Like, what's your origin story?
Well, that's a good one. I come from like a working class family in St. Louis, basically, and I was, you know, pretty straightforward through college. I studied economics and stuff, and then I got out and moved to Chicago, and I really just fell in love with the arts and writing and everything, and particularly theater. Going to like Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago back in the day. And so I went to graduate school and I studied playwriting and directing at Yale. And then I moved to New York City and was part of a kind of like DIY underground theater company in the 90s, and did a lot of plays there and then all over the country, actually. And that's sort of like, I always loved film. Theater was a little bit of a diversion from film. And then I got back into it. I wrote a screenplay that got me into the Sundance Filmmakers Lab. And I met a guy there named Bob Redford, who decided to produce my little movie. So we made a very, very micro budget film that we shot in New York about a little over 20 years ago. And that sort of got me going into writing more scripts. And I one day had a really wacky idea for a TV show that I pitched to my agent, and he set me up with some meetings, and I sold a TV pilot, which was very bizarre because I had really no, interest in being a TV person. But and I ended up selling a bunch of TV pilots, and then finally, none of them ever got shot. But finally, I wrote one that I just decided was so weird that it would ruin my career. And not that I had a huge career, but it was called Outsiders, and it actually became a show. Um, it's on Hulu now, and it is basically very, very weird. So that kind of got me my own show. And meanwhile, I've been writing different features and things like that, and working on other things. But I kind of during the pandemic, especially, I just had this idea that became Sonarius that I thought could be a movie, but it actually, because it was so much about sound, I thought, well, this would be wonderful as a kind of, audio drama, podcast, radio, fictionalized thing. And so I just went and wrote it and just decided to go back to kind of do it yourself roots. And I was bouncing back and forth between California and Austin, Texas, where I am now. And I just put together a team of people in Austin and we recorded it.
Very cool. So this was a just think it up and do it kind of project.
Yeah, exactly. It was just sort of DIY.
Was the initial plan like let me pitch this somewhere and see if I can, get someone else to produce it and put their money into it, or was that never on the table? You're just the only way this is going to get done right is if I do it kind of thing.
No, funny that you should ask because I did have someone that was interested in doing helping me do exactly that. But I had all these other projects in the works in the the machine and the industry, and I just decided that this one was sort of like too close to home, and it was something that I really really cared about and didn't want to like put out there into the Hollywood verse. So I just decided to take it off and do it.
Before we get too much into it, like, so give us a little synopsis. Like, what is the like? Give me a little plot. Give me a little story synopsis of the series.
Basically, it's the story of a woman, and her name is Jen, and her brother has jumped off the Williamsburg Bridge, actually, and killed himself. And she, a year later, decides to open up his cell phone and see if there's anything there that might help with her grieving. And indeed, he has left her 6 voice messages. And those messages lead her on a journey from New York across the country where she learns things about her family, her mom and her dad, that she didn't know before. Um, I don't want to give up any spoilers. She begins to wonder if, in fact, her brother maybe is still alive and where he might be. And so basically, each of the 6 episodes, well, there's 7 episodes, but each of the last 6 episodes are based on one of his voice messages that takes her in different directions until she finally gets out to like the Mojave Desert near LA, where she kind of learns some other truths.
What was I mean, you said it was like a personal story. What was the inspiration behind it?
In our family, we've had some mental illness, and I've had some friends and family over the years that committed suicide. And so it was just something that I had been thinking about. Um, and, it was just decided to write a story about grief and healing, and also sort of foregrounding mental illness and how that affects family members and stuff.
It doesn't sound like a laugh riot in terms of the story. It sounds like it's pretty intense. What kind of impact did you want it to have on audiences?
Well, I really wanted it to be very moving and everything. And it's not a laugh riot. It's definitely not a comedy. Um, Although I think the character of Jen is a pretty funny person in general. But what I really wanted it to be was kind of like an immersive experience. Um, it's kind of deep, and it's all underscored by an incredible score by this great composer Anton Senko, who's a friend of mine in LA, who's done a lot of TV and stuff. He did Big Love, and he's done a lot of things, and so that sort of is the underbelly of it. Like I really just wanted it to be something that you could, put on some really good headphones and stuff. It's not a super fast paced superhero kind of, comic book energy at all. It's much slower and more emotional and more kind of character driven. But it is a thriller. Each of the episodes kind of ends with a question mark, like in a surprise, moves you on to the next part of the story.
Was there any intention to kind of start this off as an audio series and then bring it to television?
Not to television, but I think it would make a nice film. Um, I mean, sure, it could work as television, but I think it's a little more kind of quiet, and I think it would make a very interesting road trip movie, actually, of her and her brother with these voice messages. But I don't know. People have to listen to it, give it a listen, and post a review and tell me what you think, where I should go with it next.
How did you get it to Audible in the first place?
I was given a connection, and I sent it to them, and kind of blind, and they got back to me and said that they really loved it and wanted to get behind it. So it was great. I mean, I spent some time reaching out to different platforms and stuff to figure out who would be the best. I actually knew Audible very well because, in point of fact, totally coincidentally, I actually sort of freelanced for them when they were back in the late '90s, when they were just barely starting. So I knew Audible well, and had been so proud of its success over the years, and the founder Don Katz and everything. But I didn't really play that card. I really just kind of went to them blind, and they liked it. So
Audible, especially and some of these other channels, they seem really star driven. Like they want names and things like that. And you didn't go with a name cast. You went with these were theater performers that you knew. Like how did you get them involved?
I didn't know them before we did this. They're just local Austin, Texas actors that have experience doing, TV shows and films and things here, and theater as well. And they were brought to me by a casting director here named Vicky Boone. So yeah, definitely, I very much wanted to avoid the celebrity thing with this and work with like a close knit, team of people that could really kind of pull this together. And did that make it difficult? It might have. I'm not really sure. I know everything seems to be celebrity driven these days, but I have a lot of faith in, actors that aren't known and that are struggling and working hard and have a great talent and stuff. So hopefully people can discover some here.
What are the plans for it going forward at this point?
Well, it's available now on Audible, and there could potentially be a season 2, I think, to be determined. And yeah, we just launched it, so we're just waiting to see how people react.
Have you gotten reactions from friends, family, and people so far?
Surprisingly, most everybody seems to really like it. I thought maybe it would be too trippy and weird and dark for a lot of people, but they said no, it was very, very emotional, and they really connected to the character, loved the performances and stuff like that. So I've been very grateful and energized about people's reactions so far.
Okay, if people want to know more, where can they find out more about the show and about you online?
Well, they can go to Audible and search for Sonarius, and then it's got a great page about me and all the cast and everyone involved in it. They can also, if anybody that wants to check out my show Outsiders, it's available on Hulu. There's 26 episodes there to watch, and otherwise, I guess I don't really do social media very much, to be honest. So I used to do Instagram, but not anymore. But IMDb, you can learn more about me. Yeah.